It's the greatest podcast in the history of the world.
It goes high up and under the full forward.
Becky's taken a ripper! He has a bounce, he crosses 50, he pins the ears back, and he drills the goal!
All the latest news and views from around the VAFA.
Here's the big man!
The big guy.
He's done it again! This bloke extracts some of the finest!
All thanks to Mequicare, proud partner of the VAFA.
Makes a name for himself with these long bombs from outside the arc. It's a long bomb from outside the arc!
This is for the love of the game.
You can tweet that and hashtag it bloody good.
Welcome to For the Love of the Game, and we are getting right down to the pointy end of the season. We've had grand finals over the weekend. We've had extra time drama. We've got a whole stack of grand finals to look forward to this weekend. We're still in preliminary final mode with Premier Men's. All that and more over the next hour and a bit. Jason Bennett alongside Paddy Grindlay and Matthew Donald. Gentlemen, it is a wonderful time of the year, and September is not disappointing.
It's a long season to get to this point, isn't it, Jason Bennett? But we got here. Hello to you, and hello also to you, Matthew Donald. We had a great weekend of footy at pretty much all levels of the VAFA.
Hello, Paddy, Jason, and to everyone tuning in. And yes, spot on, Paddy. It was a terrific weekend of football across a multitude of divisions. Some really exciting football. We've got some exciting games coming up as well. It's a great time of the year.
Well, you gentlemen were leading the VAFA SEN match of the day call teams across the weekend for us at the two Premier Men's semi-finals. So we're going to start with those. We'll start with the first semi-final. Old Scotch taking on St Kevin's at Trevor BOURKE Beach Oval. They met in a sudden death final for the second straight year, and it was the Cardinals ending Scobb's campaign once again. St Kevin's won 3 games more than Old Scotch in the home and away season, Matty, but the return of the Cards' VFL-listed players has elevated them right back into premiership contention. They're starting to look like that lineup that dominated last September.
Yeah, absolutely. We flagged this last week that their form coming into it was off the back of some of their returning stars, so not to be fooled by the 9-9 record. This is a team playing much better than that, and that's what they demonstrated at the weekend. I know for the first half it looked reasonably close on the scoreboard, but Old Scotch were just the better team across the entirety of the 4 quarters. 10-point lead at halftime and at quarter-time and half-time, rather, but then kicked away in that third term. The decisive premiership quarter built a match-winning lead from there, and it was just a really good team effort from Xavs. Their outside game against St Kevin's inside game, that was the contest, the battle coming into it, which was going to get on top, but it was once the ball got under the outside, Scotch were just far too efficient with it and were too good on the day.
Yeah, because you look at the overall inside 50s and the amount of territory, and it was just obvious that it was Scotch's efficiency, wasn't it? Their ability to convert territory into score that was the difference.
Yeah, so out of the middle, it was all St Kevin. So Billy Coates getting it down to Luke Winter. Tom Ferguson was really good as well for St Kevin's through the midfield. So in terms of clearance, contested ball, that was all St Kevin's. But as soon as it got to the outside, they weren't able to make advantage or make the most of those opportunities that they got when they had first hands on the ball, St Kevin's. And when Old Scotch mopped up, they were just able to sweep the ball up to the ground, up one end of the ground to the other, and scored time and time again.
You look at the names that were amongst the best for St Kevin's. You know, you mentioned Billy Coates, 23 touches, 11 clearances, 48 hit-outs. Ferguson, Luke Winter, who's a contested beast. Liam Gunson, they were all superb. And then you look at the names for Old Scotch, and Charlie Cormack was wonderful down back as always, 25 disposals, 8 marks, 5 rebound 50s. And Angus Jones. Harry Stubbings had 31 touches, and Angus Jones got your voters' Skins Player of the Day, 14 touches, 3 goals.
Well, Jones was the fire starter. He kicked 2 goals in the opening term and really got the ball rolling for Old Scotch and helped to really set the tone early. A couple of beautiful set shots from just inside 50 for Angus Jones. That really got things started. But to be honest with you, that Old Scotch back 6, the entirety of them were outstanding. You mentioned Charlie Cormack. I think he might have taken 5 or 6 intercept marks. Harry Stubbings was terrific across that. Reece Galvin was another one at fullback who did an immense job.
I think he had 13 1%ers across the weekend, just the little things that win finals.
Yeah, that whole back 6 was immense for Old Scotch. And then, as I said, St Kevin's to get the ball forward out of the centre, but they just had to run into that wall that was the Scotch defence every single time, and they just repelled time and time again.
What's the Angus's, the small forwards in finals for Scotch? Because this time last year, Jace, it was Angus Simons in the number 6 that was dominating at the feet of the big boys. Now it's Angus Jones's turn, and get the feeling that he might be keeping Simons out of this senior side as Scotch go rattling through the finals. Matty, I'm interested in the uncontested ball work of Old Scotch. We know that this is how they like to play their football. They're so effective at racking up uncontested possessions, taking the first option and lacing their way from the back half to the front half. Did they get on top with that kind of game style over the top of St Kevin's?
Yeah, absolutely. They used the ball so well and they were so methodical in their build-up play from back to front. Sometimes in finals you can get a little bit of tunnel vision and get a bit carried away with just trying to get the ball moving really quickly. But they were so patient with their decision-making. They waited for the right option to present. If that was only a short 15-metre chip into space, that's what they pulled off. They just waited for the openings and then they just picked St Kevin's off all day.
Mark Nat must have been absolutely delighted with this performance. His team, once again, is just finding its form at the right time of the year.
Yeah, he was absolutely thrilled. He thought it was a really good game of football, both sides having their opportunities and sharing the momentum. And St Kevin's, to their credit, did have periods in that first half in particular when they were on top and had a bit of a run in the final term as well.
They kicked four in a row, didn't they? Yeah.
Made it a little bit interesting, but certainly it would have been a bit of a steal if St Kevin's did get on top in the end. And he did acknowledge, as we said earlier, St Kevin's clearance team, they're probably the best team in the competition, but that their midfield really did stand up and match them in terms of the pressure throughout the course of the day, and was really thrilled with that. And as we mentioned, particular praise for Angus Jones and Jack Polkinghorne as well. Mark Nat set aside for some praise for on that front too.
Yeah, Jake Tawney had 12 tackles as well. James Tarrant had a couple of big moments late in the game and took huge big pack marks. They are looking very dangerous. From a St Kevin's perspective, disappointment for them, Paddy. They arrived in September having won 7 of their last 8, but they exit the premiership race at the semi-final stage for the first time in their magnificent run of 7 successive finals campaigns.
Yeah, Anthony Lynch described it as their worst performance for the year, totally outworked by Old Scotch for the full 4 quarters, and their basic fundamentals, which are crucial in September, not up to standard. Plugger putting all credit towards Scotch. They handled the pressure of the day in a much better manner than they did, and that's something that St Kevin's now has to live with over the off-season. It's going to sit in their guts. It's going to burn in their guts for a little while. You do look at the record over the last couple of seasons. They've now lost 4 finals in a row, St Kevin's, so you do start to have a little bit of concern over their recent September performances with how well Brighton and Old Scotch in particular have worked their way into calculations at the end of the season in William Buck Premier.
Speaking of Old Brighton, they took on Old Xavs in the second semi-final at Alstonwick Park and to determine who would go straight through to grand final day. And for the second straight year, it was the Tunners who took the express route. And while it ended up looking more comfortable than last season's 1-goal nail-biter over St Kevin's, it didn't look that way for 3.5 quarters, did it, Paddy? The final margin was 33 points. But it was a heck of a lot closer than that. And midway through the final term, scores were level.
Yeah, it was probably 3 quarters and 15 minutes of some of the best local football I think you could ever hope to see. The intensity was right up. The pressure from both sides was outstanding. It was a great game of footy to call. The Xavs started with the first 3 goals of the day, and you thought, oh, this could be a real turn-up for the books. The Tunners responded with the next 3, and then after the Xavs kicked the first 3 goals of the game, they would kick only 6 more. Old Brighton would kick 13. So that really, I think, tells the story. Once the Tunners were able to get on top, it was slowly, but they were able to work their dominance into that game of football. I thought that their midfielders were really terrific, but the key character for me in this game and perhaps in this final series is their ruckman, Felix Flockhart. I thought it was fitting that on second semi-final day in 2024, Sam Flockhart kicked the winning goal to put the Tunners into the grand final. On this occasion, it was his brother Felix who was outstanding across 4 quarters against a really formidable opponent in the ruck in Alex Spralia. He was outstanding both in the ruck, but also ahead of the football in particular. He took a lot of contested marks. He had multiple shots on goal. I believe he finished with a couple of goals, Jace. He was just outstanding, and it's just an indicator that when it gets warmer, the ground gets a bit firmer, the conditions get nicer for footy, the big boys don't get any smaller, and Felix Flockhart was just outstanding.
He had 20 disposals, all of them contested, 8 marks, 37 hit-outs, 9 clearances, 6 rebound 50s, 7 inside 50s and 2 goals, and then throw in 11 score involvements. That is as good a game as you can find from a big man anywhere, but let alone in a final.
Yeah, it was outstanding. And the hits keep coming for Felix because Alex Spralia's probably a top 3 or 4 ruck in William Buck Premier. Sam Grant is the big V ruckman, and he's coming up for him perhaps in a couple of weeks' time if he doesn't get Spralia. So it's going to be a pretty tricky September for Felix to manage, and he was a bit sore throughout the game as it continued. But yeah, what a footballer. He's just a great bloke to watch when he's in full flight.
So it was 8 points of difference with 15 minutes to go, Matt, in the last quarter. And then after that, it was all Tunners. They kicked 4-3 to 2 behind. So 33 points. If you didn't see the game, it sounds a little bit misleading. It sounds like Brighton had it comfortably under control. They did in the end, but as I say, it took until the back half of the final quarter for them to kick away.
Yeah, they kicked 6 of the last 7 goals, Jason. 4 of those goals came after the 19-minute mark of that final term, so that really explains things.
And again, just the efficiency. They only had 5 more inside 50s for that last quarter, but kicked 12 shots to 5 as a result and went 6-6 to 1-4. Again, it just comes down to when you get the best attacks versus the best defences in finals, you've just got to find a way to score, and sometimes that can be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I still can't get my head around that Felix Flockhart performance. That's just absolutely outrageous. Paddy, 33 points to Old Brighton. We've sort of touched on whether or not that was a fair reflection of the game. You were there.
I was.
13 of the last 19 goals in favour of Old Brighton. But, of course, as you mentioned, halfway through the last quarter, scores were level. Is 33 points fair?
I'd say I'd have it about a 3-goal difference, I think, truly between the sides. I think my concern out of it for the Old Xaverians came from the way their forward line functioned. I think Ed Delaney and Charlie McIsaac, only 1 goal between them. Charlie's had a bit of a difficult run against the Tunners. It's just about the only team in the VAF which Charlie McIsaac has struggled a little bit against. They would want to be tidying up their entries a fair bit against Old Scotch because I think they would just went in a little bit high and shallow. And the concern also for the Xavs is the injury to Sterling Phipps-Parsons. It was a nasty arm injury. He didn't return. He went straight to the interchange bench, didn't even go through the gates. For the Tunners, though, Alfie Jarnestrom, a really nasty lower leg injury. Believe it's an ankle and a foot problem, and I don't think we'll see him again this season. So they are going to be short-handed, both squads, as we continue through September.
How did Marcus Stavro go on his return?
He looked okay. He didn't look short of a gallop at all. The only thing I think we were lacking from Marcus Stavro was maybe his burst from stoppage and just that first and second step where he can really charge through. I can't really put that down to the syndesmosis injury. It could just be the pressure of finals footy because Harry Hill, he struggled to find space through contests and he came in flying, really fit. So I think he'll be better for the run, Marcus Stavro, but he certainly didn't look 50 at 60%. If he was impeded, it was only 2 or 3%.
What did Marcel Bruin, the Albrighton coach, have to say after the game?
High pressure final, as we've spoken about, and he's super proud of the group for playing the full 120 minutes, some of which wasn't their best football, but they knew that if they continued to work and grind, as we've spoken about in these last 10 minutes, Jace, that the opportunity would come. They found that the Old Xavs put immense pressure on the disposal throughout the entirety of the game. It was difficult at times to generate offense, but because their defence held up so strongly, especially when the Xavs did find some clean ball through contest, they were able to intercept, defend one-on-one, and then force the offensive chains forward. So massive congratulations to everyone down there at Brighton Beach Oval. 2 grand finals in 2 years, 3 grand finals in 4 years. So it's a hell of an achievement for a side that came up to William Buck Premier after winning the flag in Premier B in 2017.
And their season starts now.
Pretty much.
Dan Donati from Old Xavs.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
Well, there was a little bit of the football fan of Dan Donati coming through, not just all coach talk, because he said as far as the spectacle goes, this one certainly lived up to it. Loved the matchups all over the ground, and for the main part, it was a tight and tough game that was fought in great spirit by both sides. So he really loved the match as a whole. He loved the way that, as I said, the way that they approached the game did Old Xavs, but gave credit to Old Brighton. Their defence was terrific all day, stood up throughout the entirety of the 4 quarters and finished off the game stronger. And that was ultimately the difference in the end with scores level halfway through the last quarter. But now for Dan and the Xavs, they've got to bounce back. They've got a preliminary final coming up against Old Scotch, and that is going to be no easy task to get over them. But he's looking forward to seeing how the boys bounce back in the penultimate game of the season.
Very much looking forward to that. We'll get tips on that one a little bit later in the show. Xavs have won 11 of their last 13. Scotch have won their last 4. They will come together on preliminary final day for a shot at Old Brighton in the grand final. Well, speaking of preliminary finals, we had one in Premier B over the weekend. Paddy Grindlay, our Premier B guru, with his report after this on For the Love of the Game.
The VAFA's Night of Nights is just around the corner. Join us at the VAFA Awards Night as we celebrate our league best and fairest winners, induct our newest life members and present the premiership flags. Wednesday, October 8th at the Lakeside Pavilion in Albert Park. Get your tickets now at vafa.com.au.
Stay up to date with all the latest from the Victorian Amateur Football Association with the brand new VAFA app. Stay connected with live scores, fixtures, stats and news from across the Victorian Amateur Football Association right at your fingertips. Download the VAFA app today from the App Store or Google Play and never miss a moment.
Hey guys, introducing GYG's $12 chicken mini meal. It's the ultimate value bundle. A mini chicken burrito or bowl, medium Chipotle seasoned fries and a bottle of water or a soft drink of your choice. It's cheaper than cooking at home. Love ya.
This is For the Love of the Game, thanks to Mequicare, looking after 16,500 Victorians each and every week since 1959. We thank them for their ongoing support of all our pods and broadcasts throughout the year. Mequicare, a great partner of the VAFA. Premier B, preliminary final day. It's been a fantastic competition. We've raved about it all year long. And we found ourselves a preliminary final between Old Ivanhoe and Caulfield Grammarians. Paddy had to play out.
Yeah, and if you'll indulge me in some storytelling, Jace, I want to go back to round 18, 2024. Caulfield Grammarians, they need to beat Old Camberwell to survive relegation from Premier C a year after being relegated out of William Buck Premier. They beat Old Camberwell. They survive relegation by 1.99%, and Beaumaris go down to Premier C. 12 months later, this time with Paul Sutterley in the coaching chair, they're going to a grand final. They smashed Old Ivanhoe, the minor premiers, at Kramer Street at Preston City Oval It was a 9-goal victory. It was one of the more complete performances I've seen from any Premier B team so far this season, and they've booked their ticket back to the top flight of VAFA footy. It's a remarkable 12-month turnaround.
What impressed you most about the performance when you say it's the most complete performance? What in particular really caught your eye?
I think there are two players that we're going to need to get used to as far as defenders are concerned for top flight footy in 2026 and also for the grand final that's coming up this weekend. Charlie Earhart and Oscar Roberts are their names. The defenders who were just magnificent against the Hoas, who have been able to score at will through passages this season. They've been a burst team that can win games in 10 minutes and kick 6-7 goals in that time. But Roberts was able to mark everything. He defended really well against Mitras, albeit Mal was impeded with an AC joint injury that he got up from. And Charlie Earhart, he is a classic interceptor. He really copped it from the Old Carey faithful in the first semi-final. He had a pretty tough day when it was really windy out there at Preston City Oval, but this was a game that really was built for him. He took so many intercept grabs when the pressure came from Old Ivanhoe. He was excellent, both coming across as a spare and in one-on-one situations. So they're outstanding through the defensive part of the ground. The one I want to focus on in the midfield, the plaudits will come for Ollie Lowe because he is a VFL-level midfielder. He was excellent through the guts and also across half-forward. But there's a fella called Sam McInerney. He's built like a brick outhouse, as they say in the old parlance, and he is so physical, so aggressive. He's a great tackler. He had a few moments where he was almost able to single-handedly stop the Old Ivanhoe advance down the ground with one tackle, turn the ball over, and then it was the likes of Jack Atkinson getting involved through the flanks and through the pockets and putting a score on the board. It was a significantly impressive performance from Caulfield Grammarians. They kicked 11 goals to 3 after half-time. It looked a little bit like it was going to be a close-run thing before the long break, but they just took control of the game and they never looked back from early in the third term. So a big congratulations to Paul Satterley and his coaching team. They're through to the final Saturday of September as far as Premier B is concerned.
Has to be considered a pretty significant upset. All year it's been Trinity and Ivanhoe have been the two standout teams in Premier B, and it's sort of felt like everyone else was fighting to be best of the rest. So for Old Ivanhoe to have the final series that they've had, what have you made of that, Paddy? And what has Jared Geeshan made of it, the Old Ivanhoe coach?
Yeah, I spoke to Jared Geeshan on Monday morning and he was shattered. The playing group was shattered. They had bigger hopes for 2025. They had the double chance, the two cracks, to get into the grand final and then into top flight footy. It hasn't worked out for them. They felt that they were a little bit flat off the back of the loss to Old Trinity, remembering that they were in a position with the wind and with a slender margin to chase down where they really should have been able to win that game of footy and back themselves to come over the top of the tees. That didn't happen, and then they get bundled out by a really impressive Caulfield Grammarians team. He spoke rather candidly, I think, about the Hoas' fall off in form towards the back end of the season. They've had a lot of younger players play through this team, 8-20 or under playing on Saturday afternoon. They've been so good all year, but just the length of the season may be catching up with them just a little bit towards the back end of the home and away season. And then through finals, Mitras, as I mentioned, got himself up with an AC joint injury, and David Cunningham playing with a cracked rib. Weren't exactly helpful injuries, but he gave all credit to Caulfield Grammarians. He described them as brilliant. He's had an eye on them pretty much for the whole back end of the year. And once he saw the team sheet coming together on Play HQ, he knew that he'd be likely facing a challenge at the back end of the year. So he thinks that they are a super team. He's going to be flat, Jared Geeshan. He's coached this team for a long, long time now, but it is important to remember for Old Ivanhoe that not too long ago they were struggling to contend for Premier C finals, and now they're getting a chance at jumping up to top flight. Didn't go their way this year, but they'll be back in 2026.
And from Paul Satterley's perspective, wow, his first year at Caulfield, hasn't he timed the run perfectly?
Hasn't he just? So it's been an interesting one for Sats, because when you start off with a playing group that you haven't coached before, you sort of have to learn about them for the first months, but he's found week on week that his confidence and his love of the group has grown with every passing game. They've always seemed to find a way in tight games. He never has to talk about effort with this group. It's ingrained within them. They pride themselves on the contested possession intercept metrics, and that really stood out against Old Ivanhoe, especially in the second half, and he did call out a stellar performance from his defensive unit. They've had a really stable back 6 or 7 all season long, and that's really shown up through September. He's not reading too much, though, into the last game against Old Trinity, which was back in round 18, and they won. The Fields, he did know that Donald McDonald may have rested a couple of his charges. So fantastic stuff at Trevor Barker Beach Oval this Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a great game of footy.
2:20 Saturday on vafa.com.au. We look ahead to the Premier B Grand Final now. It's Old Trinity taking on Caulfield Grammarians. Trinity finished second. Caulfield finished third. Trinity have won 11 of their last 13. Caulfield have now won 9 of their last 10. They've met twice this year. They have a win apiece against each other. Two quality teams, both in form. Let's talk to a couple of the boys who will be right in the heart of the action come the weekend. And we're going to start in the Caulfield Grammarians camp. This is Will Edwards, one of their leaders. Will, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
G'day, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being with us, mate. We appreciate your time. And while they say in footy, timing's everything, and it feels like the Fields have timed the run perfectly in 2025.
It does feel a bit like that. The guys have been in great form the back half of the year and playing great footy the last couple of weeks when it's mattered most. So it's exciting times for the club, that's for sure.
Old Trinity coming up this week. What are you expecting?
They're obviously a super side. They've shown that all year. They've got some prime movers and weapons that we'll need to stop. High handball team and some good contested marks. So there's a few things to look out for, that's for sure. But yeah, we're back in what footy we can bring, and hopefully it's a good game.
Well, I don't want to drag your focus away from the game at hand, mate, but I can't help but be drawn back to what you said at the start of the season when you returned to this footy club, and you gave the quote to the Instagram page for the club that you want to help get the club back playing finals and into A grade where we belong. Now you've ticked off one of those things. How does it feel?
Mate, it's exciting. The club's obviously had a couple of lean years, and to see the club back in a position of playing finals and now back up to A grade is where I think and where the club thinks we belong. So to see that happen has been awesome. I can't take any of the credit. The young talent we've got is amazing, and the upside that they've all got moving forward is huge given how young they all are. So no, it's exciting. It's exciting to be back at the club, and one more to get this week will be nice, and get that flag, hopefully, is what we're all aiming to do.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with it, Will. Congratulations on qualifying for the last game of the season. The saying often goes defence wins premierships, and we were talking about your back line a little earlier. How good is it to have or how good does it feel to be safe in the knowledge that you've got such a reliable back six down there?
Yeah, they're incredible. Charlie Ehart, Noah Sutherland, these sorts of names, Matty Clarkson. We're really lucky to have such a solid back six, and all year they've been probably as stable as any line we've got. So they've repelled many opposition forward thrusts and have held us in a good position. So as you said, defence wins premierships. So the last couple of weeks they've been super important, and no doubt they'll be required to be at their best this week against Trinity, who have got some star power down there. So, yeah, they've been amazing. Some great young players.
You mentioned you need to get back to playing the sort of footy that you guys want to play, and that's going to be your focus. What are the keys to success in this game? Will, what's going to be on the whiteboard for Sats in the lead-up?
Yeah, I think it's just playing how we've played the last sort of 5-6 weeks, which is taking the game on, and we're blessed with some really quick young players. So continuing to tell them to take the game on at all costs, high pressure, contested footy. So it's worked for us the last little while. So we back ourselves in that it will hold us in good stead on Saturday. And young guns like Tommy Williams down forward and Huey McKenzie, Jack Elwood, these sorts of names just continue to play great footy when it matters most. So we back them in to do the same this Saturday.
And Will, I'm not sure if it's on the radar right at the minute, given you've got more pressing matters coming up this weekend, but the result last weekend guarantees the Fields are returning to the top flight in 2026. A thought on that and how exciting that is for you and your boys?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think any VAFA club strives to be playing in A grade. I firmly believe that's where Caulfield should be playing and where we belong to be. So it's we're in a good position now with some great young players, as I mentioned before. That the club's in a great position to be able to hopefully win this weekend and propel ourselves into some consistent years in A grade competing at the top level. But as we know, there's a lot that goes into that on field and off field, but I think we're in a great position to do so.
Well, we've loved tracking the club's story, especially over the back half of this year. Congratulations on making the grand final and making your way back into top flight, and good luck for the weekend.
Thanks, gents. Appreciate it. Go Fields.
Thanks to Will Edwards. That's the Caulfield side of the coin. Let's talk Old Trinity and welcome in their vice-captain and Big V representative, CHRISTOS MANOUSSAKIS. CHRISTOS, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, boys. Good to be here.
It's been a fantastic season for the Tees. Finished second 14-4. You've won 11 of your last 13. It has been a great year for you. What's been the keys to success so far in season 2025?
Yeah, it's been a good year for us. I think we've built nicely off last year's prelim finish. I think we've had a good next person mentality, next up mentality, as Don alluded to, and I think no matter the personnel we've had in the team, from week to week, our boys have been really consistent in playing their role, and they know exactly what to expect, when they come into the team. And then I think we've had probably relatively good health versus prior years. I think I recall in 2023, our first year back in B grade, we probably played 60-odd players through the seniors, which just makes it obviously really hard to compete. But I think we've been really consistent in the teams that we've been rolling out week to week. So, yeah, we've been very competitive, I think, in each game. Even if we have lost, they've been relatively close losses. But, third year with Donald on board, we've got consistency with system and process. I don't think we've had those big fluctuations from week to week like we had in previous years.
CHRISTOS, tell us a little bit about Donald McDonald. He's one of my favourite characters across the entire VAFA. What's he like as a coach?
Donald's been fantastic. Not only as a senior coach, but also from a club perspective. I think probably like a lot of clubs, to be honest, coming off COVID, we were probably struggling a little bit from both an on and off field perspective. But I think Donald's, brought great stability. Not only from an on field perspective, but being able to grow the club as a whole. So. He's really big on, we're not just invested in our seniors. We won a thirds flag a fortnight ago. Our reserves obviously also playing in the granny on Saturday. So I think he's been fantastic in building the entirety of the club up and not just getting the senior program back on track. And as you said, he's a fantastic character, great fella, loves to have a laugh. So loved having him on board the last couple of years. He's been fantastic.
CHRISTOS, congratulations and best of luck for this weekend. If you wouldn't mind taking us inside the inner sanctum for just a moment in terms of what you're thinking about heading into the game, what are going to be some of the keys for your team on Saturday in order to get over the line?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with any final, it's a little bit of a different sport, to be honest. The time and space is obviously at a premium. Pressure really ramps up. So, we pride ourselves on how we, compete in contests and at the coalface. That's been pretty foundational, I think, for us for most of the year. And Donald says if nothing else, we're bringing that. And I think if we do bring that at a good level, we give ourselves a good shot to being at the game. Another thing we pride ourselves on is our defence. I think we want to be able to defend first, and Caulfield are probably the form team of the competition if we're looking at it over the last 6 or so weeks. Giving our respect to opposition by defending first, but being able to attack off the back of really solid defence as we did in the Ivanhoe final. I think, Paddy, you probably have the numbers, but it was like 24-6 or something like that, inside 50s in the last quarter, and we were able to pinch a few goals in that final term without giving any up. So that defend first mentality, and then as it's a final, being able to weather those moments. I think there are periods where the game's not going to be going your way. I think we've responded to those throughout the year pretty well. So just being able to take control of the game when it's going against us, which I'm sure it will at some stage.
Looking forward to this one. 2:20 Saturday on vafa.com.au. It's Old Trinity versus Caulfield Grammarians. CHRISTOS MANOUSSAKIS, thanks for your time, mate. Good luck.
Thanks on me, boys. Appreciate it.
Are you looking to grow your business? William Buck are more than just accountants and advisors who can develop strategic growth plans for your business. With over 125 years' experience, William Buck has expertise in navigating through challenging times and has been working closely with the VAFA community, creating positive change for individuals, businesses and community organisations. William Buck's team of specialist advisors work collaboratively, providing you with 360 support. Schedule a complimentary consultation today by visiting williambuck.com.
Tickets are on sale now for the William Buck Premier Men's Grand Final Day function. Friday, September 26th in the function room at Elsternwick Park. Enjoy the biggest day on the amateur footy calendar with a delicious sit-down lunch and hear from the grand final coaches ahead of the big match. Tickets are available now at vafa.com.au.
Time to talk Premier C on For the Love of the Game. Thanks to Mequicare, and the Parkdale Vultures had been a superb team all season long. They finished on top of the ladder 17-1. They went down to Beaumaris in the second semi-final by 51 points. They headed to preliminary final day to take on AJAX after the Jackers had a fantastic, thrilling 5-point win over St Bede's Mentone in the first semi-final. And gentlemen, the Jackers continued that form. They flew out of the blocks. They kicked 6-5-41 to 1 goal in the opening term to lead by 35 points at quarter time. In the end, they went on to win it by 45 points. All the damage done in a blistering first term from the Jackers.
That's such a great story. I'll be completely honest. I'll put my hand up and I'll say that I did not anticipate this coming at all from AJAX. I really thought we were destined for a Parkdale Vultures Bowie Grand Final. It would be befitting of how the season went for those two squads. Parkdale 17-1, Jace, to a straight set exit in Premier C, which is a really bitter pill to swallow, I'm sure. But AJAX coming from 4th position to the grand final and up to Premier B for 2026. A great story. And especially, Matty, considering they didn't finish the year, the Jackers, all that well.
No, it's been a terrific turnaround in events in a very short space of time as well. As you say, a terrific story and already a success in terms of being promoted to Prem B for AJAX. And that's the beauty of this level of football, that the two teams that go through to the grand final do get that promotion. But, I mean, one away from a premiership, and I tell you what a historic moment that would be if they were able to pull it off. You suspect Beaumaris would go into the game as favourites, but given how well AJAX have played this final series, wouldn't put it beyond them.
Yeah, two teams. Very interesting. Bowie, well, have won 16 straight after losing 2 of their first 3. Their start to the season was a bit shaky. AJAX won their first 7 straight, and then were a little bit shaky. They lost 3 in a row entering the finals, but have found form at the right time. Let's talk to the two men who are going to be at the heart of the action on the weekend. This game, 2:20 Sunday. You'll hear it live on SEN. You'll see it live on vafa.com.au. It's Beaumaris and AJAX, and we will start with the team that won straight through to grand final day. It's Beaumaris and their coach, Josh Bourke. G'day, Josh.
G'day, Jace. How are you?
I'm going well, mate. More importantly, how are you?
Oh, we're obviously very excited. It feels, the week off feels like it's been a big build-up, but no, we certainly enjoyed sort of resting a few up and getting ready for this week, and very excited, looking forward to Sunday.
What did you learn from watching AJAX in the preliminary final?
Well, that's a good question. They were outstanding, and I think you'd be, I suppose naive not to think about how good Parkdale's been this year. Their season was quite remarkable, 17-1, and really set the standard. So credit to Parkdale on what they did this year and what they put together. And AJAX just came to play. We sort of know that their contested possession stuff, their clearance work is elite. They sort of lead the comp in those 2 areas. So it shouldn't really be much of a surprise. But I thought the pressure that they were able to sort of put on around the ball, and then, when you're in conditions like that, if you can execute, you put pressure on, and that's ultimately what happened. Like the sort of halfway through the first, and they're thinking, oh, this is pretty level. Mitch Brown had gone back behind the ball and was defending pretty well for Parkdale. And then, AJAX got a run on, and really, I don't know what Locke will say, but I don't know that you could fault their game. AJAX, they were near perfect, to be frank.
Josh, we spoke pretty much every week when you were in Premier B. It was a heartbreaking relegation story for you in 2024, but this year you've just been dominant since going down. Can you take us briefly through the story of the season?
Oh, Paddy, that's they're very kind words. We sort of knew that there was an element of, you're never unlucky. You get what you deserve. That's the beautiful thing about footy, that it's not a game of luck, and we probably didn't take care of some results last year that we should have. But, ultimately a 7-0 pretty much last quarter against Trinity, have gone through at A grade this year has cost us. And, we were really big on you've just got to face the facts about where you're at and what you've got to do. And a huge credit to our playing group. There's sort of two things that stand out to me. And one, Paddy, is they're all really quick to recommit and passionate about sort of getting the club back to where we feel it should be and aspiring to do more. And then secondly, I think, we started the season 1 and 2 in C grade. And, we played good sides in Parkdale and St Bede's at that stage for the 2 losses we'd had. But our ability this year to continue to improve is probably, it's made it one of the more enjoyable years of coaching I've had. Like, we just seem to be getting better every time we take the field, and that's a huge credit to the playing group as a whole to listen and take on instructions and feedback.
Where have you got better, Josh?
We're certainly a bit quicker. There's some of it, Jace, sort of at the selection table. So I think we're certainly a bit quicker. And our young players, guys like Aidan McCarthy, who's unfortunately injured at the minute, but Ben Sears, Jed Hayeta, Tom O'Rourke, Harvey Backman have really come in and had an impact with their leg speed. But I just think we've developed a bit of maturity with being able to respond to what opposition take away from us. And I know that sounds a bit silly, but we this year, in a good way, sides were setting out to stop us playing, and I think we've developed some strategy around what that looks like and how we respond, how we use the footy, having a bit of patience at times. So I certainly think we've improved in that space, and we also defend really well. We're incredibly well led by Linehan, Hayes, and Wilson in the back 6. So we're really sort of confident in all aspects of our game, but. Looking forward to Sunday against, what will be a real challenge for us.
Josh, congratulations on your season and on promotion to Prem B. As you mentioned, you've got one more game to go this weekend, the grand final. What's going to be the focus heading into the match from your team's perspective?
Yeah, good question, Matthew. I think it's reality around pressure and finals. Like, we know that time in forward half is really important, and I felt just watching Sunday and then our game, sort of 8 days before against Parkdale, probably both AJAX and us were able to really get the ball into our forward half and retain it. And I think that might be a bit where the game sits, like the side that can get some ascendancy and clearance and then set up the game in the front half, because finals are ultimately a bit about pressure and how you hold up to that. And I think if you're asking the defence a lot of questions, that can be a real challenge, especially in that finals atmosphere. So our sort of focus will be, A, to a degree, standing up to that, Matt, but also if we can try and own time in forward half, we think that'll be really important.
Josh, we appreciate your time, mate. All the best. It should be an absolute ripper this Sunday, Beaumaris and AJAX.
No, thanks so much, guys, for having me, and we're certainly looking forward to it.
From Beaumaris to AJAX, and what a story, as we've already talked about, AJAX through to the grand final, having lost 3 in a row to enter the finals, and then they've found form at the right time. The man in charge, he's re-signed for 2026. Lachie BUSZARD, the coach, joins us. G'day, Buzz.
Hey, gents, how are we going?
I'm going really well, mate. You're here with Paddy Grindlay and Matthew Donald. No Joseph Pignataro. He took a few shots at you early in the season. Who's having the last laugh?
Well, like all good sides in September, you sack the dead wood, and well done to you guys for finally getting rid of Joey and realising that there's the sun still comes up and the comp moves on and gets better for it. So well done, gents. You finally got rid of him, and I think we're in a better place without him.
Lachie, you started the season winning 7 in a row. That we'll get back. It was a height-based selection criteria.
No.
First 7 of the season.
Low blow, Jace.
AJAX won, but you'd lost, as I mentioned, 3 in a row entering finals, but you found form at the right time. What do you put that down to?
Oh, look, we've had a really interesting year as a footy club, and I mean, most of the people out there wouldn't know, but we've played 58 players in our senior side this year. We had 23 players go to Europe and had obviously significant injuries.
Flu got you.
Yeah, so playing 58 players, look, we've blooded 23 first gamers, so the stats are alarming when you think about we're playing off in a grand final and made it from 4th, but I actually think it was a record to play 58 players through your senior side to obviously qualify for finals and then make a grand final is just exceptional. For the resilience of our group, but for our footy club to be able to find the numbers, first of all, to play and compete, but to qualify our seniors and our reserves for finals, was the first goal, and we did that. And then, luckily we've been lucky enough to get some of our talent back on the park at the same time. But yeah, it's been an extremely challenging year for the footy club, and we've just been really blessed that we've had players come in and play their role. But as I said, 58 players in a senior side is astronomical by anyone's counting.
Mate, 45-point victory over the minor premiers in a prelim. That speaks for a hell of a lot of improvement from your team, considering that you went through fourth into finals, 12-6 record. I mean, can you talk to us a little bit about the turnaround from the last few games of the home and away season to finals football?
Yeah, we were really dominant early part of the season and played some really good football off. I mean, we have some challenges with our venues, as you guys know, and getting ground availability. But we had a really good 5 or 6 weeks at the start of the season where we started to play some really good football. And we kind of spoke about playing a B grade style of football in C grade for the year, because that was our goal to obviously make it back to B grade as a footy club. And, yes, you want to win a grand final and we're there to compete and win a flag. But our sort of first goal was, how do we get back to B grade? And we were doing that early in the year. And then the disruption to our team through injury and through players travelling overseas, as I said, meant that then it became about survival and just winning enough games to get through. So we sort of went away from what we did really well in the first 5 or 6 weeks, and it became about how do we win a game of footy more so than how are we playing finals football. And so the style we sort of played and how we played through that middle part of the year was more around just get a result. And we've been lucky enough now that we've been able to, in the last sort of 2.5, 3 weeks, get games into players and sort of get back to our DNA and get back to how we want to play. And look, I think we showed that on the weekend and had massive support from our fans, but played a really good upbeat style of footy that I think holds up in finals, but also is hopefully going to hold us in good stead for next year in B grade.
What are the pillars of this B grade style of footy, Lachie?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing with any footy is we don't have any stars. Like, we don't have any VFL reps in our side. We don't have any players who are picked in the Vic squad, largely off players not being available and injury. But we've got 22 contributors, and I think you need to have that these days. Look, we play a really high pressure game style, as you would have seen on the weekend. We've got a lot of legs beat in our side. We've got some really good key targets who just are really good footballers, but we're also really young, so we're sort of average age of about 22 in our group. So we're a really enthusiastic, upbeat group. So, yeah, I think that's a hallmark of what we do, and our DNA is how we go about the contest.
Lachie, congratulations on the season. Your goal at the start of the year was getting promotion through to Prem B. You've now done that. You've got the grand final against Beaumaris coming up now on Sunday. What's the focus on how do you plan to beat them?
Well, I think Bowie have been the best side all year and probably have the most talent. So I think that's the first thing. We're really confident that we can put in a good performance. How do you beat Bowie? Well, I think Bowie have beaten themselves a couple of times this year, and the games they've lost, they obviously haven't kicked well, but they're a very good side. They get numbers sort of to the contest. They spread really hard, and they've got sort of a number of really talented players who always run longer and harder than most of the others in the competition, given their standing is, I think they've got 5 VFL listed players playing this week and probably another 4 or 5 who have played VFL footy. So they bet really deep, and the challenge for us is going to be to win the ball at the source, which is, obviously clearance, which we've been really good at. We think we're a really good contest side. We think we're really good at centre bounce, although they've got the premier and probably ruckman in the competition in Heath, so that provides us with another really big challenge. And look, their midfield group is really strong. So how do we beat them? Well, hopefully we kick more goals than they do, and hopefully they do what they've done sometimes this year and kick a lot of points. And if they do that, might help us.
Mate, it promises to be a fantastic game. It is Sunday 2:20. You'll see it live on vafa.com.au. You can listen to it on the SEN app as well. Beaumaris and AJAX. Jack as coach, Lachie Buzzard. Thanks for your time, mate. Good luck.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
This is For the Love of the Game. Thanks to Meckelcare. It's time to talk divisional footy, and we'll bring in our divisional guru, the man who's been keeping us up to date on everything that's been going on up and down throughout the divisions in season 2025. Brayden May from News Limited and the Herald Sun. Brayden, thanks for your time.
Hey, guys. How are we?
Oh, great. It was a grand final weekend to remember. It was an amazing Sunday of divisional grand finals, all on the one day. You could see them all on vafa.com.au on the mega wall. I was sitting at home with all 3 of them going at once. Got to watch 3 great games of footy. Let's start with Division 3, Brayden. It was a powerhouse double header. They had the reserves into the seniors. And we'll start with the reserves result in Division 3. Powerhouse in that game were 19-0 entering the grand final against Richmond Central. Hadn't lost a game all season, but it was all Richmond Central. They kept Powerhouse goalless to half-time. They led by 52 points at three-quarter time. Powerhouse kicked 5 unanswered goals in the last quarter to reduce the margin in the end to 23 points. It was Richmond Central 8-15-63, defeating Powerhouse 6-4-40 by 23 points. The Snakes collecting a second premiership cup for their cabinet to sit alongside their 1994 senior flag. And then Powerhouse in the main game, the seniors went out against North Brunswick and they dominated. Powerhouse, 15-19, 109, defeated North Brunswick 3-7-25 by 84 points. They were the minor premiers, Brayden. They won the second semi-final, and then they won the club's first senior flag since 2006 when they won it in Div 4. It was a powerful performance.
Yeah, rightly so. And I think they have been the best team all year when they've had their best side on the park. We've seen that. Talking to Coach Nick Cox, this wasn't something that just came together over the last 4 weeks over the season. So it goes back to round 18. They got some guys back from injury and they had to get through. He told them straight out, if you do not get through, I will not pick you for a final. I can't afford to have blokes underdone. And then a few weeks earlier before that, he risked a few things against Wattle Park where they lost by about 8 goals, and in the end they got beaten pretty comfortably, and he changed some things there. But I think the key word, as I've already mentioned a couple of times there, is change. It all dates back to when he was appointed as coach. He sat down with the club. Powerhouse last year in 2024 had been knocked out in straight sets after finishing in the top 3 when there was the top 5 due to the bigger size competition, and the club was pretty scarred. They weren't happy with how it ended, and he just went back to the drawing board. The players responded really well, and it all worked out. He brought in a new game style, new way to prepare for games, added some new guys, threw them around in different positions. And, yeah, at the end of the day, they've done a remarkable thing, and I think they'll go quite well in Division 2 as well if they keep this group together.
It's been a wonderful story this year in Division 3. Powerhouses rise, and I'll be looking forward to them to being exactly that in Division 2 next year, Brayden. I'll start on to Division 2. We'll start with the reserves where West Brunswick, the Magpies, that's back-to-back for West Brunswick. They got the job done out there at Carey Sports Complex out in Bulleen over St Mary's Salesian. Reserves 47-37, Jace.
And then the senior game was an absolute scream. I don't know if you had the joy of watching this one, Paddy. I did. It was absolutely fantastic. There was nothing in it all day between St Mary's Salesians and Old Yarra Cobras. And in the end, it was St Mary's Salesians in front of a raucous crowd, it must be said. It was a wonderful atmosphere. It was a great game of footy. There was nothing in it all day. St Mary's Salesian 8-10-58, defeating Old Yarra Cobras 7-13-55 by 3 points. It was St Mary's Salesian's first flag as a combined entity, Brayden. St Mary's and Salesian Old Collegians came together in 2008, and the last time either of them won a flag was way back in 1996. So it was a day of great celebration for St Mary's Salesian.
No, it's fantastic and a great achievement. They've actually probably punched above their own expectations. I remember talking to Coach Clay Tate earlier in the season. He said, look, last year was an opportunity to bring this group together, and he just wanted to play finals footy, and they've been one of the best 2 teams all year. I think we've spoken about them several times. They're quite a young group, and to top it off with a premiership is a great result. A lot of talking points. A couple of guys might retire from this one. The coach himself, he reckons it might have been his last game, but I don't know how many times we've heard that before, especially from experienced players, so he might go around again. Yeah, they're just a great story. They'll go up to Division 1. Last time this happened, I don't think they actually won a game, so we wish them well there. Someone I just wanted to touch on was Josh Salem, who was best on ground. The coach reckons he's the best defender in Division 2. Sorry, he reckons he's so underrated and hardly gets beaten. Played on Jackson Leschko, who kicked 3 in the second semi-final, and blanketed him. He didn't kick a goal, and it's a great result for the Saints. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they can do. They're quite young. They'll no doubt go out and add a couple as well, maybe some more experienced bodies for the step up in standard. But again, the key thing for me was that last quarter, just tracking it while I was out at the Division 1 game. No one kicked a goal, so there would have been a few groans.
It was so exciting for all those wrong reasons. You know, when you're watching a game and it is as tight, and we'll talk about one in a minute that happened out at Box Hill where you were, and it's almost more agonising when it's so close and neither team can kick a goal, so it just doesn't break. There's no sort of break in the tension. It just continues to build.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And one thing that I was amazed to learn was the Saints didn't decide to put anyone behind the footy despite conceding the first 4 scores of the quarter. To not do that, some coaches might do that, but Clay just thought, we've got to kick a goal. And I think that's great coaching, to really back your players in and I guess not throw numbers behind the footy and maybe with that negative mindset. And in the end, they got 2 points and it proved pivotal.
Let's talk Division 1. And the game I was just referring to then was the Division 1 Reserves Grand Final between Ormond and Oakley. Oakley were up 3-2 to no score in the first quarter. It was back to 11 points at halftime. It was Oakley by 10 points at three-quarter time. This is the Reserves Grand Final. Ormond then kicked 3 goals in the first 15 minutes of the final quarter. They hit the front. They led by 8 points. Oakley responded with a goal at the 27-minute mark of the last quarter, which sent it to extra time. Now, the first extra time between Ormond and Oakley went 9 minutes without a score. They went to second extra time. They played another 14 minutes with no score. So by this stage, they've gone about 7.5 minutes of golden point with no score in either direction. Both times the ball was on the goal line at both ends and it got slapped back into play and no one actually managed to score. In the end, it was Ormond kicking the winning goal. So all up, they played 23 minutes of extra time before any score was registered.
You talk about tension building up.
Unbelievable. So in the end, it was Ormond 10-8-68, defeating Oakley 9-8-62 by 6 points in golden point in the Division 1 Reserves Grand Final, which then set the scene. Ormond in the reserves winning the premiership. They would then take on Old Peninsula in the Division 1 Senior Premiership. Braden, they finished 18-0, 4 games clear of the Pirates. They then beat the Pirates by 17 points in the second semi-final. But Grand Final day throws up some strange results, and this was one of them. What an incredible result this was for Old Peninsula.
Yeah, Old Peninsula were awesome. Ethan Hanley kicked the first of the day, and I think it's been shared on the VAF socials. When that went through and the way the Breeze took it through, you just thought, if you're an Old Peninsula supporter, you probably thought, oh, we're in trouble here. Just one of those things. Footy you can't control. The wind grabbed it.
Yeah, he set it up to the top of the square, and it ended up going through for a goal.
Yeah, and it was actually amazing sitting at ground level watching that go through, because that came off the side of the boot. And the celebration match, which I love. But then after that, Old Peninsula, that was just an old school football performance. I think we've spoken about leading in, it was experience against the inexperience at this level. And the older guys, Nathan Jones kicked 2 in the first. He's obviously a name that we've discussed before, the ex-Melbourne captain. He kicked 2 goals. And just in the contest, they were super physical, and Coach Kyle Pinto of Ormond said they're going to have to match them. And in the end, Old Peninsula and the Pirates just managed to dictate that area of the ground. Ormond got a few chances late in that first quarter, but I think once Old Peninsula sort of had that little buffer, kicking against the Breeze, 4 goals was probably worth 8 with that wind that was blowing to one end. It was just a dominant performance, and all credit to Old Peninsula. You just played your best footy at the right time of year.
19-13-1-27, Old Peninsula defeating Ormond 6-17-53 by 74 points. So Ormond finished the season 19-1. Old Peninsula win their first senior flag ever in club history, and Braden in their 8th grand final since they joined the VAFA in 1987, losing grand finals, and finally they win one. What does it mean to the Pirates?
No, it means a lot, and I think my favourite moment of the day, as you can imagine, there's plenty on grand final day, but the Pays family, I'm sure everyone that follows that footy knows about Sean Pays. He presented the cup, he presented the premiership medallions, and the way
record holder. Yep.
The way he embraced every 22 and the coach was just outstanding. And the moment when him and Bailey's son, one of the young stars of this competition, they embraced it was fantastic. Bailey kicked a couple goals late, and the celebration, you could just see the emotion. The Pirate Army, they were amazing. That was one of the best atmospheres I've seen at a local football ground. They talk about being a smaller club in a bigger market down in Mornington. Obviously, they've got their neighbouring competition, but it's a full credit to them, and I think they've got more to celebrate. They've got under-19s hopefully coming next year, and we know how important they are. Good things are happening. There's a lot to watch out for with the Pirates. Hopefully they do go well in Premier C, along with Ormond, who deserve a lot of credit. It's one game of footy, but the main thing is they're up. They got promotion. They didn't get the end they wanted, but there's still so much excitement. And they'll take a lot away, a lot of lessons that you might not get at such a young age always.
Fascinating to see what Ormond do in Premier C next year, because they have been such a powerhouse team in Division 1 this year. And yes, the Bailey Pays love story I noticed with Hugo Higginbotham. Are they officially engaged yet?
I have to put together a list, I think, of Hugo's favourites across the VAFA. And I do think you spoke about the Bailey Pays celebrations, BRAYDEN MAY. I think Bailey Pays might still be celebrating. I don't think he's gone home yet. So a big congratulations to all of the Pirates players. A great achievement for the football club and wonderful scenes. I did get a photo sent through to me from Hugo of the entire club in the middle of Box Hill City Oval, surrounding each other, celebrating the moment. Those are days which just live forever. So it was a wonderful scene. Congratulations to both teams on their elevation to the Premier Divisions.
Braden, it's been a fantastic year of divisional footy, hasn't it? All the way up and down.
Yeah, it certainly has. There's been so many stories to tell, a lot of drama, and I think the best part was that the drama lived right through to grand final day. You get some competitions where it can be all well and done by mid-season, your top 4, but the competition was a huge credit to everyone. No one gave in, whether it was the teams that have unfortunately been relegated or the teams that have lifted the Premiership Cup. So I've got a huge thanks to them and the support they've given me and all the time as well.
And we've got a huge thanks for you as well, Braden, because the amount of work that you've put in this year promoting the VAFA and writing stories about the divisions and telling stories and shining a light on footy clubs. It's just, we cannot underestimate just how important and special it is. And we hear from, obviously, clubs all the time. We talk to clubland constantly. And just the feedback that we get from footy clubs, little footy clubs. Let's talk about Richmond Central, for example, and the Jake Dillon story. Things like that for a little footy club like Richmond Central that would normally not get any sort of public recognition. For them to get stories like that written about them just means the world to them. It means so much to their sponsors. It means so much to their recruiting. So thank you so much for all the hard work you've put in throughout the year. It's been an absolute pleasure working alongside you.
No, you too, guys. But the best thing is there's still a couple of games to go.
Can't wait for those. Brayden May, as always, with our divisional wrap. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Good to catch up with Brayden May, as always. What a fantastic job he's done for us this year, keeping everyone in the VAFA fully informed. There were 2 under-19 grand finals on the weekend. We want to celebrate the winners in those. The under-19 Division 2 men's, Old Ivanhoe defeated the University Blacks by 57 points in the qualifying final. They then repeated the dose on grand final day with a 49-point win. It was the Hoas 12-8-80 defeating Uni Blacks 4-7-31 by 49 points. And then in the under-19 Holmes Glen Division 1 men's, the top 2 teams met. Bowie finished a game clear of Parkdale. They then beat the Vultures by 69 points in the second semi-final. Parkdale bounced back to win the prelim by 49 over OMs. And then they turned the table on the Sharks on grand final day. They turned a 69-point loss in the second semi-final into a 46-point win 2 weeks later. Parkdale Vultures, 12-8-80, defeated Beaumaris 4-10-34 by 46 points. That's a 115-point turnaround in a fortnight.
Lazy 19 goals, if you don't mind.
Decent going.
How good.
Remarkable performance from the Parkdale
What are they
Vultures.
feeding them?
Something good.
Carrion.
Yeah,
with their Vultures.
It's worked well in the last 2 weeks.
I'll have a slice.
There's one under-19 game left for the season. It is the Holmes Glen under-19 Premier Grand Final. We've been watching this live and exclusively on KTV right throughout the final series. It has been so much fun to watch. It's Old Brighton taking on St Kevin's. It's a rematch of last year's classic grand final. If you remember that game, the Tunners won that game by 4 points after Scob came from 20 points down early in the last quarter. Tunners hung on to win that by 4 points. It was an absolute classic. This year, Scob finished as the minor premiers. They were 78% ahead of Old Brighton. They both sat 15-3, had fantastic seasons once again. The Tunners won the second semi-final by 32 points. They kicked 5-1 in the second term. St Kevin's then survived an extra time thriller in the prelim final last week against Uni Blues. I don't know if you gentlemen caught this, but Charlie Cotter had a kick for goal in the left forward pocket at Elstonwick Park under lights. He bent it around, took the game in at extra time. In the end, St Kevin's managed to survive. They got through, and it is all set up for the Holmes Glen Under-19 Premier Grand Final this Saturday, 5 o'clock, live on KTV at Elstonwick Park, straight after the Premier Men's semi-final game. So Brighton and St Kevin's to go at it again. This should be an absolute ripper.
Yeah, it was a real spectacle. I did get to catch a little bit of that game as I jumped off air from the Old Xavs Old Brighton second semi-final in Premier Men's, and being able to sit, I suppose, in front of the bar that had just opened up and have a conversation with a few of the coaches of the Premier Men's team and watch on for some of the young talent. There were a few coaches that put it to me that the quality of football that you saw from the Under-19 Prem Men's was better than what you'd see in some reserves and even seniors games. And it really looked that way. Some really exciting young players on both sides and really well called by our man, Cal Cummins, Brent Sternberg, and of course, podcast favourite Hugo Higginbotham.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic competition. You guys have both been across it. There's so much young talent in the VAFA to look forward to in the next couple of years. And as you mentioned, the quality of under-19s footy, it just pings around, doesn't touch the ground. It is fantastic to watch.
Yeah, and for all of these players, this is just the start.
Yeah.
For the vast majority of these players, we've got at least a decade more of this sort of football to enjoy. And they'll continue to get better as they continue to naturally develop on their own as well. I still can't get over that finish from Charlie Cotter.
What a goal under pressure.
The circumstances, that's an amazing goal.
So he's tucked, for those who haven't seen the clip, and I recommend you head to VAFA HQ on Instagram to check it out, but he's tucked in the left forward pocket. He has to sort of step onto the line and snap across his body to bend it through. So it would have taken some serious nerve. And speaking of Charlie Cotter, I've seen him play a little bit of Premier Men's football this season. He is a super talent. If we can just hold on to him for a few more years, because right now he's a small forward, he gets dangerous in front of the footy. I reckon there's a chance he becomes a bit of a pinch-hitting midfielder.
And just another one, for all parties involved in that final play, massive credit for everyone understanding the rules. We don't often talk about the rules and when things are well adjudicated and well officiated, but it was smart from everyone. Charlie and the umpires knew exactly what the situation was, that he was able to start off his line, But as long as by the time he pulled the kick, he was over the line, that it was all fair and all above board, and that's exactly how it played out. So well done to Charlie Cotter and well done to the umpires for getting it all spot on.
And Paddy mentioned, for anyone who hasn't seen that Charlie Cotter goal online, well, there aren't many. That's up to 700,000 views, that Charlie Cotter goal online. That's how good it is. 700,000. It's gone viral. And rightly so. It was a wonderful, wonderful goal.
Oh, man, Senchi. He looks after us.
So the Holmes Glen Under-19 Premier Grand Final this Saturday, 5 o'clock at Elstonwick Park. You'll see it live and exclusive on KTV. It's Old Brighton and St Kevin's. It promises to be a belter, as will the William Buck Premier Women's Grand Final. We'll talk preliminary final. We'll look ahead to the Grand Final with both the coaches. That's next on For the Love of the Game.
Tickets are now on sale for the William Buck Premier Women's Grand Final Day function at Elstonwick Park on Sunday, September 21. Hear from both coaches pre-game and watch the Premiership decider from the comfort of the function room with finger food and a cash bar. Tickets are just $30, including gate entry, and are available now at the VAFA website.
Hey guys, introducing GYG's $12 chicken mini meal. It's the ultimate value bundle. A mini chicken burrito or bowl, medium Chipotle seasoned fries, and a bottle of water or a soft drink of your choice. It's cheaper than cooking at home. Love ya.
Welcome back to For the Love of the Game. It is mid-September, which means grand final season is well and truly upon us. We've had a whole bunch over the last couple of weeks, which have been fantastic. We've got another one to look forward to this weekend. It's the William Buck Premier Women's Grand Final. And Paddy, Premier Women's this year has taken on a whole new dimension. The last couple of years, it's been a race in two between Old Scotch and St Kevin's. They've shared the premierships, the last four between them. But this year, coming from, well, not nowhere, because they made a preliminary final last year, but got belted in it, is Caulfield Grammarians. Jumped over the top, finished as minor premiers, lost to Old Scotch by 6 points in the second semi-final, and then they met St Kevin's in the preliminary final on the weekend. And to no one's surprise, it turned out to be a thriller. St Kevin's by 9 points at quarter time. St Kevin's by 2 points at half time. St Kevin's by 8 points at three-quarter time. Caulfield Grammarians kicked 2-2 to no score in the final term to win it by one straight kick, and they are through to the grand final to take on Scotch.
Yeah, big congratulations to everyone in a blue and white jumper. What a season the Fields have had, although I do feel for DANI DiStefano, because you look at their ladder position and how many games they've won, 15-2 coming into finals, but there's been so many close games as part of that. It's been a really exciting competition, especially in that top three. Caulfield going through the home and away season with 15 wins, Old Scotch with 14, St Kevin's with 13. A thrilling year, and I think it's fitting, Jace, that the Fields do get through to play off against Old Scotch for the fourth time this year.
And you have a look at the best players from the weekend, and there's a couple of their youngsters, a couple of Anytime Fitness Rising Star nominees from the last couple of years in Isla Mottram and Jacinta Baxter. Isla actually kicked the winning goal on the weekend to put them in front and win the game and send them into the grand final. So it is going to be a fantastic game once again. As we talked about the history, Old Scotch and Caulfield Grammarians, there's nothing between these two teams. So let's take you inside both camps. We'll start with the defending champions, Old Scotch. Their coach, Dean Anderson, joins us. G'day, Ando.
Hello, how are we?
I'm going really well, mate. What did you learn from the weekend watching Caulfield go at it against St Kevin's?
Yeah, look, it was a great game. I actually flew in. I was off 4 hours sleep. I was up watching my son play for Gold Coast in Brisbane on Saturday night, and I went to bed at about 2 and woke at 5:15 to come and watch our reserves win in time on, and then watched a really good game, Caulfield and St Kevin's. So it's sort of what we expected it to be, but to be honest, I didn't really know who would win that game, and the result was really as I thought. So I thought St Kevin's would be strong and physical and really contested, and Caulfield would run well, which sort of is the way the game looked to have evolved. And, they just ran out the game well. They had a really strong breeze. It was very windy on Sunday, so, you needed to take your chances.
We've felt that way about the top three teams all year, and you can throw Q in, who'd had a fantastic performance in the first semi-final, but certainly Caulfield, Old Scotch and St Kevin's, there's been very little between you all year. You defeated Caulfield by 6 points in the second semi. Then they beat St Kevin's by 6 points in the prelim. You guys have met 3 times this year, you and Caulfield, and the 3 games decided by a total of 13 points. You're just clearly just very evenly matched.
Yeah, it's great for coaching. Yeah, we are. We're different teams, but at the end of the day, they're just genuine, really positive brands of footy for players as well as spectators. So it's really the women's game in the Amars is really coming along in terms of the quality. So I'm really pleased with that.
So, Dean, you've seen your opponents play last week. Obviously, you've got a very good idea on how they play and how what the key is for your own team. What are going to be some of those specific metrics that you're going to have an eye on ahead of Sunday?
For us or for them?
For you guys.
Both?
For you guys.
Yeah, look, Caulfield are they're a very well-balanced team. You know, they don't really have many weak links when you look across the 21 that play. So they've really an even spread of talent contributors. That's the way I see it. They run the ball well and they use the angles, and for us it's really important that we defend well because they can really cut you up with their run and the ball use. So we just need to put as much pressure on them as we can just with our defence and try and work on turnovers. That's one key thing. I think the two midfields are great in terms of at the level, so that'll be a really interesting contest between the two, see who wins out on the day. Our forward line is quite damaging, can be. So we'll look to have some strategies in terms of how we set up in our forward line to try and maximise the talent that we've got down there. And really try and put a lot of pressure on the Caulfield defence because they use their defence to be really proactive. So if we're actually using the ball well and get it into our forward line, we put a lot of pressure on the defence. That'll help us.
You're, of course, going for back-to-back premierships. Ando, can you talk a little bit about how the group's changed in a year's time?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. You sort of start the year not really knowing. You just don't know. There's so many changes year in, year out. I think we've got about 6 or 7 new players this year. We've got it's really good. We've got it's interesting the way we run our players. It's like we embrace people who give. So that's the way I run it in terms of a cultural environment. So I don't chase people who are in it for themselves. So we've got a couple of girls that have come up from our reserves last year, have really developed. So that's really positive. That's just great for people in the club to see. So that makes me. That's a really enjoyable part of coaching. We've got 2 new girls that are still at school that have come into our group. So I really love that, just getting new, young, keen girls into the team. And at the other end, we've got, we're really experienced at the other end too. So we've been able to retain players. So we're whilst we've got 6 changes, we've got, 15 or so of our team have been there and done that before. So that experience will be really important. But it is interesting. You don't really know where you're going to land at the end of the year, but I'd like to land on the team where the players, as I said at the start, they really give for the club and give to people around them. So I think that's a big recipe for our success.
Dean, we appreciate your time, mate. All the best for what promises to be a fantastic game. 2:20 Sunday at Elstonwick Park. You'll see it live on vaffa.com.au and Community TV. Old Scotch versus Caulfield Grammarians. Ando, good luck.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
And joining Old Scotch on grand final day, the minor premiers, Caulfield Grammarians. They went 15-2 during the season proper and leapfrogged over Old Scotch and St Kevin's and have made the William Buck Premier Women's competition infinitely more exciting this season. It's been wonderful to see, and joining us is their coach, DANI DiStefano. DANI, thanks for your time. Congratulations on making it to grand final day.
Thanks so much, guys. Pleasure to be here.
What a fantastic season it's been. How has it met your expectations?
Oh, I think it's exceeded them. We definitely were looking to go bigger and better than last year, having bailed out in a pretty tough preliminary final loss. And so I think our expectation was to win a prelim. So we've done that. And so pretty stoked with that. But did I see a kind of 15 or a 14 zip, kind of start? No, I didn't. So I was really impressed.
What were the keys to that growth, Danny? Because, as you say, obviously the team found, your top-end footy was really great last year, but your ability to play top-end footy more consistently this year, I think, is the thing that's maybe stood out.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the group together for another 12 months always helps. Any coach would kind of say that. But I think given our kind of quick success last year, it was a really good or an instrumental factor in that recruitment process over the summer. A lot of people have said before kind of turned up at our doorstep, which was really nice. Some really critical and useful VFL players, but also some really solid community players with great experience. And we're also really lucky to be connected to the Caulfield Grammar Footy Factory. So lots of young kids coming through who are awesome.
Your fourth meeting with Old Scotch, Danny, and the tail of the tape is a really exciting one as far as we're concerned. A 4-point win earlier in the season, a 3-point win a little bit later on, a 6-point loss in the first weekend of finals in the second semi-final. How do you match up against the Stars?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a coin toss, isn't it, at the moment? It's really exciting to be so close every time. I mean, it makes for some really great footy, but I mean, as you can see, or as you remember, is the 50-point loss or whatever it was in the prelim last year is really. It's a massive turnaround for us, and to be meeting and sometimes beating the best gives the group such confidence to be able to kind of do anything, I guess, at this point. So that we're going in confident. It's been really tight every encounter this year. So there's, I'm just looking forward to a really good game of football.
Danny, congratulations on the season thus far and for qualifying for the grand final. We've seen so many teams across the VAFA in this final series go out in straight sets, and your team was looking down the barrel of something similar at three-quarter time at the weekend. So difficult to come back from a three-quarter time deficit, unleashed in a preliminary final. What does it say about the resilience of your group to be able to overcome that deficit and come home with the win like they did last weekend?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, three-quarter time, I would be lying if I wasn't thinking, oh, God, I do not want to go out in straight sets. But, I mean, what the proof's in the pudding in sense of, I mean, we've had our slow starts this year, but we always finish strong, and that's really positive. Would I like to be putting together 4 quarters of strong footy? Absolutely, and we can do that too. But I know that we can finish strong in tough situations, and, we saw that in the semi with Scotch. We came home pretty strong in that second half. Wasn't enough, but the group were able to really, demonstrate their resilience in our system and connectedness and really just that support and love for each other. They just got it done. Clean or ugly, we got it done this weekend, so I was really proud of that.
One of the great things about coaching is there's so many different ways to do it. There's no necessarily right or wrong. What sort of coach are you on game day, pre-game? Are we talking your Luke Beveridge sort of fables and storytelling? Are you a pump-up coach? Are you very much a play-it-down, outcome-focused coach? What's your demeanour like? What can we expect from the girls on Sunday? What do you like pre-game?
Yeah, look, I think it depends on where we're sitting and what the game looks like. But I mean, for a grand final, I tend to try and come in at least in a pretend state to be calm, knowing that there's lots of nerves. But look, for me, it's really about connecting with the players, and it's taken a couple of years now, but I know what each of them kind of need to make them tick. And if they can see there's a genuine faith and belief in me, then I know that I can instill that in them. And so it'll be a bit of a pump up and a rev up and, probably looking at the underdogs here, but that might be enough for a rev up for them to get them over the line or at least motivate them from a strong start, which is what we're looking for.
Well, you've come such a long way in 12 months. One more step to collect that silverware. We wish you all the best of luck. It's going to be a fantastic game. 2:20 Sunday. You can see it live on vafa.com.au and Community TV. Danny, all the best. We wish you well.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.
Old Scotch and Caulfield Grammarians, what a game. And in fact, it's also the Premier Women's Reserves Grand Final matchup. Caulfield Grammarians versus Old Scotch. So what a day of footy that's going to be at Elsternwick Park. There'll be a massive crowd here. Caulfield finished minor premiers in the reserves as well. They were 16-1. They defeated Fitzroy by 9 points in the second semi-final. Old Scotch finished third. They defeated West Brunswick by 8 points in the first semi. Then Fitzroy by 5 points in the preliminary final after being 7 points down at three-quarter time. They kicked 2 goals, 13 for the day. Old Scotch, but still managed to get up and win. So in both the Resis and the seniors in Premier Women's this Sunday at Elsternwick Park, it is Caulfield Grammarians versus Old Scotch. And for our seniors coverage, we're going to have SCOB coach Tom Purcell in special comments joining our commentary team, which is going to be fantastic. No one knows these teams, these plays, these tactics better than Tommy. He joins VAFA Media for Grand Final Sunday. Time for a break. When we return, tips on For the Love of the Game.
Stay up to date with all the latest from the Victorian Amateur Football Association with the brand new VAFA app. Stay connected with live scores, fixtures, stats and news from across the Victorian Amateur Football Association right at your fingertips. Download the VAFA app today from the App Store or Google Play and never miss a moment.
Tickets are on sale now for the William Buck Premier Men's Grand Final Day function. Friday, September 26th in the function room at Elsternwick Park. Enjoy the biggest day on the amateur footy calendar with a delicious sit-down lunch and hear from the grand final coaches ahead of the big match. Tickets are available now at vafa.com.au.
This is For the Love of the Game. Thanks to Mecwa Care. It is tips time. Paddy Grindlay and Matthew Donald to put their footballing expertise on the line. And And we're going to start with the William Buck Premier Women's Grand Final. It is 2:20 Sunday at Elstonwick Park. You'll see it live on KTV and vaffa.com.au. It is Old Scotch and Caulfield Grammarians. We've talked about their 3 games this year, decided by a total of 13 points. Gentlemen, who wins and why?
Well, we said last week that no matter what the matchup was going to be, it was a beauty, and it's first v second. It's just what we want, Old Scotch and Caulfield Grammarians. I'm really liking the response from Caulfield Grammarians in the last 7 quarters. So that first final against Old Scotch, Scotch got the jump on them, 4 goals in the opening term before the Grammarians could even blink. But in the last 7 quarters since, the Grammarians football has been really good. I know they trailed in each of the first 3 quarters against St Kevin's, but real test of resilience to be able to come over the top of that and get the win. I'm liking them in this grand final ahead of Old Scotch. I know Old Scotch got the better of them in that first final, but I reckon if that one had a 5th quarter, and I know games don't, but I think Caulfield had the momentum to get home. If that game went for a little longer, I'm expecting they'd take away a lot of lessons from that, and we'll get the job done this time around.
Paddy, can Old Scotch go back to back?
No, I'm going with Caulfield Grammarians as well. We do need to get a heart rate monitor on Danny STEFANO, though, because I expect this one will be close like the rest of the field's wins over Old Scotch and indeed losses to that side this year.
3 games decided by 13 points. You'll see it Sunday, 2:20. Our coverage starts, VAFA TV and KTV. Also Sunday at 2:20. You can put both these games on because this one's on vafa.com.au as well. You can listen to it on the SEN app. It is the Premier C Grand Final. We've talked about it. Beaumaris and AJAX. Bowie have won 16 straight. Their last loss was April the 26th to Parkdale. AJAX had lost 3-0 entering finals, but gee, they found form at the right time. Bowie and AJAX, who wins, gentlemen?
I mean, a good journalist barracks for the story, and as much as I would love to see AJAX get up in this one, I just think the performance of Beaumaris in that semi-final is just too convincing for me to tip against them in this one.
Yeah, look, Lachie BUSZARD's going to print out a little picture of my head and stick it on a dartboard. I've got Beaumaris and Josh BOURKE to take the premiership and Premier C.
Premier B, it's been a long and winding road in this game. This one's on Saturday, and it is also live and free. vafa.com.au from 2:20. It's going to be a fantastic game. It's Old Trinity taking on Caulfield Grammar. Old Trinity won 11 of their last 13. Their last loss was to Caulfield in round 18. Caulfield have won 9 of their last 10. Matthew, Patrick, who wins and why?
I'll defer to the Prem B expert.
Oh, come on.
Get us started with this one to go first here.
You want to follow me in. So the round 18 game is interesting between Caulfield and Trinity because the Tees did rest a few players. They were sure of their destiny by that point of the season, including our man CHRISTOS MANOUSSAKIS, who didn't play in that game of footy. So there's not a lot really that you can go off in regards to form between these two clubs during the course of this season. The Tees, they held on against the Hoers. The Fields smacked the Hoers. I think the Tees have been the most consistent consistent team of 2025 rather, and I think they will win the premiership. So I think they're going to get it done against the Fields.
Old Trinity for Paddy.
I think this one's going to be really close. I think these two teams in particular do match up really well against each other. I am going to follow you in with Old Trinity, but I think this is probably of all the grand finals, or all the finals rather this weekend, this one's going to be the toughest one to tip, I think. This is going to be the closest matchup.
Margin?
But I'm going Old Trinity 11.
13.
So you're pretty
Points,
close.
that is.
Pretty
There we
close
go.
on your margins. By the way, Premier C Grand Final, you both pick Beaumaris. Give us a margin.
I'll go Bowie by 25 points.
By 35.
35 for Maddie. And we'll also go back to the Premier Women's. Give us a margin on that one as well. Maddie and Paddy, you both picked Caulfield.
1 point.
4.
Excellent. Sorry, Danny.
Her heart rate is going to be right through the roof. But ultimately, she's going to be happy if they get home by a point.
Yeah,
as George Harris, the old Carlton president, once said, what's better than beating Collingwood by 10 goals in a grand final?
Beating them by 1 point.
Beating them by a point. Which brings us to our Premier Men's preliminary final, 1:55 Saturday afternoon. Live and exclusive video streaming on KTV, the audio on vafa.com.au and the SEN app. Old Xavs versus Old Scotch. Now, Old Xavs went 15-3 in the season proper. They won 6 games more than Old Scotch at 9-9. Xavs have won 11 of their last 13 coming in. The 2 losses in that time, both to Old Brighton. Old Scotch have won their last 4, including the 3 teams directly above them on the ladder as they were heading for September. Blacks, Bloods and Scob. The team next up that ladder is Old Xavs. Can they climb one more rung and get past them, which would then give them a shot at the top rung to beat Old Brighton. They've met twice this year. Old Xavs won them both comfortably, 81 points in round 4, 45 points in round 14. But as we know, this is a very different-looking Old Scotch team. Who would like to tip first?
I'll go first this time. I won't throw
Very
Paddy
bold
under
of
the
you.
bus,
Well done.
twice in a row. We've seen this story before with the Cardinals. They did it this way last year. They're on track to do it again this year. I give them every chance this weekend against Old Xavs. I mean, seeing Old Scotch firsthand last week, they were so impressive with the way that they moved the ball under the intensity and pressure of a finals atmosphere. Was really impressed with the way that they played for 4 quarters. For Old Xavs, the one that I keep going back to is the lack of availability of some of their stars. And I know that they've got a couple back in the likes of Stavro, but Phipps Parsons is now, you would expect, not going to be available again. How many is too many? Eventually, there's sort of got to be a breaking point. I think for me, Old Xavs fired a much better shot than what I was expecting them to do against Old Brighton. To stick with them for 3.5 quarters, I thought they certainly exceeded what I was going to expect them to produce. But I just think Old Scotch are going to have too much for them here. They're going to continue to ride that wave of momentum, and we'll just have a bit too much in the arsenal for the Old Xavs. I'm going to tip Old Scotch to win by 17 points.
Paddy?
So I've got a bit on this from our man Hugo Higginbotham, but you will have to tune into the Saturday warm-up thanks to Mequicare on Saturday afternoon to hear all about that. But the Xavs, they've got to bring their pressure like they did against Old Brighton for 3 quarters and 15 minutes before it just fell away towards the end. If they bring that pressure, they will be able to restrict the Old Scotch uncontested game. And it is crucial that we see a little bit of Charlie McIsaac in full flight. He is so important to the Xavs. He opens them up so much with his contested marking ability and his ability to bring the ball to the ground and allow some of the smalls and the half forwards to get involved. If Scotch are able to rack up the uncontested disposals and have the game on their terms, they will win this game of footy. I'm going to tip the Cards. I think they've got too much momentum at this point of the season. I think the Xavs, it was a bruising game of footy. They're going to, you'd assume, lose Sterling Phipps Parsons for this game. And I think the Cards have just been here before. They're confident. They know they can do it because they have. And I think we're going to have a grand final rematch from 2024. Scotch by 21 points.
Scotch by 21. So Daniel Ward, the new Sandringham VFL coach, the former Old Haileybury coach, will be joining Hugo Higginbotham in special comments for this game on Saturday, which is going to be outstanding. He also sent through a few talking points for the weekend, and he was saying with expected conditions to be wet, Scotch's pressure definitely needs to be on. Last week they held up brilliantly in defence, but they need dirty ball from the midfield to shut down Xavs forwards because, as we know, the likes of McIsaac, etc., can score on you in a hurry.
And he's done it so many times this year, Matty, Charlie McIsaac. We've seen it firsthand. He doesn't really need to have much of the footy. If he can have 5-6 big minutes, he can kick 3 goals and change a game, especially in September.
Yeah, no, he's a very classic sort of full forward mark and kick accurate type. And just on Daniel Ward, excellent working with him at the weekend. He's learned a very valuable lesson, though. Don't talk about how good a player's goal kicking is as they're walking in to kick for goal. And unfortunately, Sam Barnett was a classic victim of that. But no, he was terrific, and it'll be great to hear him again on Saturday, Daniel Ward.
And I heard, Jace, that Daniel Ward, he might have a new staff member that might have just been announced.
Nathan Brown, the Old Melburnians coach, will no longer be the Old Melburnians coach because he's heading to Sandringham's VFL team, which of course is going to stand alone as an assistant to Daniel Ward. Of course, they play together at Melbourne. They're very, very good mates, and they will connect at Sandringham. So yes, Daniel Ward from Old Haileybury and Nathan Brown from Old Melburnians join forces in the VFL next season, which, as sad as it is for us to see them disappear from the VAFA, at least temporarily, it is a little bit like the players that get the opportunity at the next level. It's wonderful for the VAFA to be a launching pad for young talent, whether it be players, whether it be coaches, whether it be commentators and media people. The VAFA has always been fertile ground for creating talent that goes on to big and great things, and we wish Daniel Ward and Nathan Brown all the best. But before Wardy goes to Sandringham, we've got him this Saturday.
And I think he might have his binoculars trained on a couple of amateur footballers over these next couple of weekends, Daniel Ward, because certainly in this game of footy, it's going to be just about an all-star matchup. One I just want to talk about briefly before we say goodbye, Jace. Alex Tregar, he was superb on Joey Campiel. He did a wonderful job. Campiel went without a goal. It's worth noting that Joey came third in the Sandringham Zebras best and fairest count just a couple of nights before that game of footy. He is a stopper, an old school stopper, Alex Tregar. He followed Campiel to the bench when he went off for his rotation, came straight back on when Joey came back on. I reckon you will see Alex line up on James Tarrant.
What a matchup
come the first bounce. that's going to be appointment viewing.
Well, this is it when you get this time of the year. You just get those classic hyped up one-on-one matchups that, you are just going to capture the imagination. And if that is what we get, Trigger on Tarrant, my goodness, that is going to be a beauty.
It's the Premier Men's preliminary final, 1:55 Saturday on KTV with vafa.com.au and the SEN app for your audio needs. It's going to be a fantastic game of footy. Hey, congratulations to everyone who's made grand finals this week. Best of luck to everybody involved. We are going to have some amazing games this weekend as the season continues to build to a giant crescendo. Premier Women's on Sunday, Premier B, Premier C as well, and we build up towards Premier Men's grand final next weekend. It's going to be a great weekend of footy. Thanks so much for joining us on For the Love of the Game. Best of luck to everyone involved this weekend, and we'll catch you again next week.